How do narcissists groom you over time to accept abuse? Maybe you were a type of person before you met the narcissist where you didn't take crap from anyone, but then you find this super intoxicating relationship, somebody that seemingly is everything that you ever wanted in life. It's almost too good to be true, and you believe it, and the emotions are so high because you found your one, and they feel that way too. You're like, I hit the jackpot. I hit the lottery. Like it happened. I did it. I can't believe it. I'm so lucky. You guys are having those talks of forever, and we're going to move in together, and we're going to start a life together, and we're going to do all this stuff. You start to believe it. You start to, and that gets you emotionally invested. That gets you hooked in all of the love bombing. And I'm going to do another video on this, but you might even notice some inconsistencies and a little bit of the vibe might be a little off from time to time, but some red flags even, but you ignore them. You don't pay attention to them because you're caught up in this fantasy that you guys have together forever. No one's perfect either. You chalk it up to, well, no one's perfect. Maybe they had a bad day, maybe a bad time. They're real good at hiding that. But then what happens, right? And you're not even aware of this as it's happening. That's the scary part. Slowly over time, it's very slow and gradual and tactical. Because if it was all at once, it would be too noticeable. They start to pull back. They start to pull back that love. They start to pull back that affection. You, as a highly sensitive person, notice this. You notice it because you're so sensitive to the vibe of a relationship. You're so sensitive to the energy around you. You notice this, right? They might not even I don't think they think that you notice it, but you notice it. And then you start to try to make up for it. You start to give a little bit more while they pull back a little bit more. Then you start to give more, and then they pull back more. Then before you know it, you are putting in 100% of the effort, maybe 90, I don't know, and they're putting in barely anything. And you're hooked. And then pretty soon, that's when the devaluation starts. You've heard that term before, I bet, They start to say, well, I'd like it if you changed your hair. I'd like it if you got a new job. I don't like it when you say this. I don't like it when you hang out with those people. I don't like it when this. And you are so desperate for that love and affection, and that they're starving you of it. So you change. You succumb to the pressure and you change for them. And then they give you a little bit of love in return. And then they realize that's the cycle, and they start to tell you, well, now, you know what, I don't like it when you have time for yourself. I don't like it when you talk to your family that much. I don't like your family. Okay, so you go to bat for them, against your family. And, they might give you a little bit of love for that. Basically what happens, and this is how they groom you, right, over time, is they make you feel really bad unless it's what they want. And they start to treat you badly if you don't do what they want. And you wanting love really badly and wanting to make this work and, put in the effort because you see that it's just nothing's perfect now, and slowly over time, you start to believe these things. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of this love. I'm not worthy of this affection. And when they give it to you, you feel so happy and you feel so good about yourself. And it's like a drug. You get hooked on a drug. Ironically enough, that these people feel so badly about themselves and feel so crappy about themselves, that starts to rub off on you too. You become who you hang out with. If you're hanging out with people that feel really crappy about themselves and they hate themselves and, they don't have good relationships with who they are or anyone else, like, that's going to rub off on you too. And narcissists are masters at finding your insecurities and then amplifying those insecurities. if you're and we all have insecurities, right? Like, it's called being human. Like, if you're insecure about your hair, right, they're going to continue to play on that. They're going to start to tell you, I don't like your hair. I think you should change your hair. Your hair would look so much better if you dyed it or if you changed the texture of it or whatever. You already being insecure about your hair, like, you might do it. You know, you'll probably do it. Because one, you want to make them happy. And two, like, you're already insecure about this. There's a couple of helicopters flying by. They take those insecurities and they just exploit them. They're masters at it. You know? Then they'll constantly just pick at it, and pick at it, and pick at it, and pick at it until it starts to get amplified even more inside of you. And then you go to them, right? Because they're creating this they're amplifying this insecurity. And then you go to them for reassurance. And then all of a sudden they give you reassurance and you're hooked. And all of a sudden, like, they're your savior. They're your reassurance. They're your everything. They're your emotional anchor. They have total and complete control over you before you know it, you know. You're toast at that point. You're toast. There's no chance. Because nothing's gonna change. Nothing's gonna go back to how it was. But you hold on to that feeling, like, I just want things to go back to how they were when we first met, the initial love bombing phase. That's what happened. It's just so crazy to think about, right? Like, this is what happens. And it's really hard. You know, when you eventually get out of these relationships or you start to see it for what it is, or God forbid you're married to someone or you have a kid with somebody like that, and like now you have like legal ramifications to work around. You can't just get rid of them so easily. I mean, I can't even, like, that's crazy. You know, I mean, hats off to people dealing with that, man. Talk about some real strength. I mean, yeah, the only choice is to get out. It's never going to go back to how it was. Toward the end, you're starting to see how they actually are. This is their true, authentic self. Someone that abuses you, someone that looks down on you, someone that doesn't care about you. And how could they? How could they care about you or treat you well if they don't even treat themselves well? Like, honestly, like, how can someone have the capacity for love and compassion if they don't even have that for themselves? Like, true capacity for it. Yeah, you could sympathize with someone. Yeah, you could sit there and, like, listen to their problems for a little bit. But I mean, like, genuinely care about you. It's impossible, you know. And you have to go through those. You have to go through this to get to the other end, which is healthy, authentic relationships. You have to see what doesn't work before you see what works a lot of times. You know, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with you for being in these positions, but if anything, it's an opportunity for you to see what's not working and see what you need to change. You know. But I would say that's how they groom you to accept abuse. That's what happened to me many, many times. Then I was left picking up the pieces afterwards at whether I was broken up with or I left. It doesn't really make it easier if you break up with them or they leave you. It doesn't change anything. You might have a moment of feeling empowered, but that's going to quickly be replaced with anger and shame and guilt. You know, guilt towards yourself, shame towards yourself. That's the worst kind of shame. That's the worst kind of feeling, is just shame towards yourself. I mean, like, you look in the mirror and you're like, I don't even recognize myself, and I cannot believe I put up with that. You want to talk about a hard day. And then all of a sudden you're left to pick up the pieces. But the cool part is, when you're broken, you're shattered as a human being. Now you can pick up the pieces and put them back together how you want to. That's the cool part. That's freedom. That's autonomy, baby. When you're going through this, just remember, This can be one of the best things that ever happens to you if you're willing to put in the time and the work on the back end so that this doesn't happen again. Use this as an experience. And honestly, you get to the point where you can look back on it and just remember the good times. But you also don't repeat what happened. You can get to a point like where you're truly glad that those people came into your life, but you can also look at them with a sense of compassion and empathy and feel like the lucky one for being able to change and to grow. It's humbling. All right. I hope everyone has a great day.